I opened my front door, already knowing, already feeling, what waited on the other side. And when I saw them standing there again, backpacks slumped, shoes half untied, eyes drooping with that familiar tired sadness, my heart dropped straight through my stomach. Again. The 10th weekend. The same scene. 8-year-old Liam clutching his sister's hand. 5-year-old Maddie holding a stuffed fox by its tail like she didn't have the strength to grip it anymore. No note. No text. No knock. Just my brother's kids, abandoned on my porch like clockwork. But this time, I didn't know tonight would end with police lights slicing through my living room, children screaming, and my brother begging on his knees in front of 2 officers. I swallowed the sting building behind my ribs. "Where's your dad?" I asked, praying, stupidly, for a different answer. Liam just whispered, "He drove off." Of course he did. A cold breeze hit the back of my neck, the kind that makes your bones tense before your mind catches up. I stepped aside, letting them in, watching Maddie drag her feet across the hardwood floor as if every step hurt. She looked up at me with those wide, blinking eyes. "Auntie, we didn't eat yet." Something inside me cracked, quietly, like a hairline fracture in glass. I dropped to my knees, brushing Maddie's messy hair back. "I've got you. Both of you. Come in." They walked past me slowly, too slowly for children their age. That's when frustration and guilt twisted together in my chest, an ugly knot I'd been nursing for months. I shut the door and leaned my forehead against it, breathing hard. Why did he keep doing this? Why did he think my life, my boundaries, my sanity, didn't matter? The house felt too quiet, too heavy, like it already knew what was coming before I did. And if you're watching this right now, where are you watching from? Liam sat on the couch like he was trying to disappear into the cushions. Maddie crawled into my lap without a word, her little fingers gripping my shirt like she was afraid I'd vanish too. Then Liam whispered something that made the room tilt. "Dad said, if we bothered you, you'd send us away like Mom did." I froze. My heartbeat stumbled, once, then hard again. Send them away? Who says that to a child? Before I could even form a response, my phone buzzed. One text. Then another. Then 3 in a row from my brother, Evan. "They'll be fine. You owe me after everything I've done for you. Don't make this complicated." Complicated? He had dropped his kids like luggage, and I was the one complicating things? A cold pressure settled at the base of my neck, the kind that warns you something is shifting, something is wrong. Maddie tugged my sleeve. "Auntie, Daddy said if we cried, you'd get mad." Her voice cracked on the last word, like she'd been holding it in for hours. Another buzz. Evan again. "And don't go through their bags. They've got school stuff." That text hit me strange. Why mention the bags? Why so specific? Microhook tightening in my chest, I glanced over at their backpacks. They weren't zipped properly. Stuffed. Overstuffed. Clothes pressed to the edges like they'd been packed in a rush. My breath hitched. Liam saw me staring. His shoulders tensed. "Auntie, Dad said not to open them. He said you'd be upset." Fear flickered in his eyes. Real fear, not the kind a kid invents. I swallowed hard. Something wasn't adding up. And the awful part. I wasn't sure if I wanted the answer. But something inside me whispered anyway. "Look. Now." Liam's voice still echoed in my head when I sank onto the edge of the couch, Maddie curled against me like a trembling kitten. The house felt too quiet, too hollow, like it was waiting for a confession. That's when the memories began pressing in. Uninvited. Unavoidable. I wasn't always the one holding everyone together. Actually, I had spent most of my life falling apart quietly. I'm Harper, 29, the responsible one, the good listener, the one who steps in when no one else will. Not because I'm strong, but because I know exactly what it feels like to need someone and have no one show up. Maybe that's why I never said no to the kids. Not once. My brother, Evan Clark, 2 years older, had always treated responsibility like a disease. As a teenager, he tossed chores my way with a smirk. As an adult, he tossed people away the same way. He loved fun. He loved freedom. He loved the version of fatherhood that existed only in photos he posted online. Sunny weekends, matching sneakers, cute captions. The real work? The late-night fevers, school meetings, fear, discipline? That was someone else's problem. Usually mine. But his kids. God. Liam and Maddie were nothing like him. Liam, 10, with his 2 old eyes and careful footsteps. As if every move had to be perfect or someone would explode. Maddie, 6, soft-spoken and tender-hearted, the kind of child who apologizes when someone bumps into her. They were gentle souls trapped in the orbit of a storm. And somehow, I became their shelter. My parents. They enabled him so hard they might as well have held the door open every time he ran from his responsibilities. Evan is stressed, Mom would say. He's doing his best, Dad insisted. Meanwhile, I was the one packing lunches, folding tiny shirts, helping with homework. Invisible work. Invisible love. Invisible me. Even now, this very moment, they hadn't called to ask where the kids were. Because of course they assumed I'd take them. I always did. A soft knock rattled my front door. For one heart-stopping second, I thought Evan had come back. But when I opened it, it was Mr. Hayes, my 60-year-old next-door neighbor. Quiet, observant, the type who noticed everything even when he pretended not to. "Everything okay, Harper?" he asked, eyes flicking over the kids' shoes scattered in my hallway. His voice held concern. But also, recognition. Like he knew something was off. A ripple of unease slid down my spine. Mr. Hayes had seen things. He always had. And later, much later, he would become the witness who changed everything. But right now, I just swallowed and nodded. Because I still didn't know the truth. The truth the kids were too scared to say. If only I had known what was coming. Weekend one felt like a fluke. Daniel stood on my porch, kids half asleep, pajamas mismatched, their small backpacks barely zipped. "I just need 2 hours," he said. 2 hours became 8. And I let it slide, because I always do. But something in Lily's eyes, the quiet way she clung to my shirt, it stayed with me longer than I expected. I should have noticed the first crack then. Weekend 2 came with more excuses. Emergency shift. Car trouble. Can't talk, just take them. The kids were hungry this time. Not snack hungry. Real hungry. Their tiny voices whispering. "Dad said you'd feed us," he forgot. I swallowed the anger, but it burned. That night, I found a bottle of children's cough syrup in their bag. Sealed, unused. Even though Lily's voice was hoarse with a cold. Weekend 3 arrived with the smell of smoke on the kids' clothes. Not from cooking. Not from candles. Something heavier. "Daddy burned dinner again," Josh said quietly. My heart clenched. My mind spun. And then, for the first time, my neighbor Mrs. Hayes paused when she saw the scene. She raised an eyebrow, lips tightening, but said nothing. It was the kind of silence that meant she was watching. Weekend 4 to 7 blurred into one repeating nightmare. Dirty laundry. Forgotten homework. Messages like, "You're better with kids. They prefer you. Don't make this difficult." Every voicemail felt like a slap. His voice thick, annoyed, dripping with entitlement. "They're your family too, aren't they? Stop acting like a victim." He would hang up before I answered. Every single time. And every time, my stomach twisted harder. Lily began hiding her drawings. Josh started flinching whenever my phone dinged. Weekend 8 brought a new crack. A deeper one. When I opened the door, both kids stepped in quietly, too quietly. They didn't run in. Didn't smile. Didn't ask for snacks like they usually did. They just stood there. "Is Dad mad at you too?" Josh finally whispered. The question hit like a punch. Like he wasn't asking about me. He was asking about them. I wasn't ready for what would come next. Weekend 9. Mrs. Hayes stopped pretending not to notice. She was outside watering her plants when Daniel pushed the kids toward my door without even saying hi. He didn't look at them. He didn't look at me. Just muttered, "You deal with it." And walked away, phone already at his ear. Mrs. Hayes' eyes widened. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something. Then closed it again. But she didn't look away. That was the weekend I realized I wasn't the only one seeing the pattern. And then, weekend 10. Except this time, it didn't feel like a weekend. It felt like a warning. The kids were pale. Clothes wrinkled. Backpacks empty. No explanation. Not even a text. Just a quick knock. And his car speeding off before I even reached the door. My heart dropped. My body froze. Everything in me whispered the same thing. This wasn't a pattern anymore. This was a breaking point. The 10th weekend should have been routine by now, but nothing about that night felt routine. The kids sat on my couch, too stiff, too quiet. Lily kept twisting the hem of her shirt. Josh kept watching the door like someone might burst in. Microhook. Their silence rattled louder than any words. My phone buzzed again. Daniel's name flashing across the screen. Then disappearing. Then buzzing again. I didn't answer. Not yet. I walked into the hallway to breathe, but the air felt thin, sharp. The walls echoed with every step I took, like the whole house was listening. When I returned, Lily was crying silently. Not sobbing. Not whining. Just leaking tears. "Sweetheart," I whispered, kneeling in front of her. "Tell me what's wrong." She shook her head fast, too fast, eyes wide, terrified. Josh swallowed hard. His voice cracked. "Dad broke a plate yesterday. He threw it. Not at us, but close." My stomach dropped. "And he yelled," Josh whispered. "He said it's all our fault. He said he's tired of everything." I froze. The air felt colder. Like winter had seeped through my bones. Microhook. I'd never heard fear like that from a child. My phone buzzed again. Longer. More urgent. A voicemail this time. I pressed play. Daniel's voice exploded through the speaker. "Answer your damn phone. You think you can make me look bad? You think you're better than me? Pick up, or I swear." I stopped it right there. My hands were shaking too badly to hear more. The hallway felt smaller. Tighter. Like it was closing in on me. I stepped outside to breathe. Cold night air slapped my face, stinging, waking me up. The porch light flickered, of course it flickered, casting shadows across the steps. Mrs. Hayes was outside again, taking out her trash. She glanced over, froze, and frowned. "You okay, honey?" she called. I opened my mouth, but before words came out, my phone vibrated again. Hard. Violent. Like Daniel was shaking it from the other side. I silenced it. Mrs. Hayes raised an eyebrow. "That your brother again?" Her voice was soft, but her expression wasn't. I swallowed. "Yeah." She hesitated. "I heard the kids earlier. They sounded off." Her concern wasn't judgmental. It was worried. Protective. And that worried me even more. Microhook. If other people were seeing the cracks, how deep were they? Inside, I found Lily clutching her backpack like a shield. Josh pacing the hallway, muttering, "He's gonna be mad. He's gonna be mad." I knelt down again. "Listen to me," I whispered, voice trembling. "Nothing bad is going to happen tonight. You're safe here." But even I didn't believe myself. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I locked the front door, double-checked the back door, closed the curtains. My heart beat like it was racing ahead of me, desperate to escape the house first. Another voicemail came through. Then another. Then a text. "Open the door. I'm coming." My chest tightened. A cold sweat crawled down my spine. Mrs. Hayes' words echoed in my head. The kids' fear replayed. The broken plate. The yelling. The hunger. The smoke smell. The endless weekends. Everything collided inside me at once. I told the kids to stay in the living room, away from the windows. They nodded, eyes wide, shadows trembling on their faces. The house felt too quiet. Too still. I stepped toward the hallway. Heart pounding, breath thin. Each footstep echoing like I was walking into something I couldn't undo. And then it started. A single, heavy knock. Then another. Then another. Fast. Hard. Angry. That's when the knocking started. Loud. Angry. The knocking rattled the door like someone trying to break it open. But when I finally gathered the courage to look through the peephole, it wasn't Daniel. It was the police. 2 officers on my porch, hands on their belts, flashlights slicing across the yard. The porch light flickered behind them like the universe was warning me. Another knock. Firm. Controlled. Terrifying. This is a welfare check. We need to speak with you." My heart jammed into my throat. A welfare check? On me? On the kids? Behind me, Lily whispered, trembling, "Are we in trouble?" Her voice alone nearly shattered me. I cracked the door open, cold air rushing in and brushing my sweaty skin. "Everything okay tonight?" the older officer asked, peering into my living room. The toys scattered, the kids clinging to each other. "I'm just babysitting," I whispered. "For the weekend? Or longer?" the younger officer pressed. I froze. He already suspected something. Before I could answer, someone hurried across the yard. Mrs. Hayes. Of course. My observant, worried neighbor. "Officers," she called, breathless. "I'm concerned. The kids are here every weekend, sometimes during the week. They looked exhausted tonight. And scared." My stomach twisted. I knew she meant well, but her timing was a knife. The officers exchanged a glance. The older one stepped closer. Given what we've heard, we need your statement. And we may need to speak to the children privately." My pulse spiked. "No, wait, please. I'm not the neglectful one." Saying it out loud made me sound even more guilty. Josh started crying behind me. Quiet, shaking sobs. Not tantrums. Trauma. "Don't take us away," he whispered into my shirt. "Please don't take us away." I dropped to my knees, holding him tight. "I won't let anyone hurt you," I said, even though fear clawed at my throat. The officers stepped inside. Radios crackling. Notepads ready. Flashlights scanning everything. The house suddenly felt too bright. Too exposed. Every question stabbed me in the ribs. How often are the children left here? Does their father provide necessities? Why didn't you report this sooner? Have they ever appeared injured? Their pens scratched like steel against bone. Lily held onto my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Then, another knock. Soft. Hesitant. A woman stood at the door with a clipboard. "Child Services," she said gently. "We received a report." My vision blurred. I had to grip the doorframe not to collapse. She stepped inside, scanning the scene with practiced eyes. Crying kids. Police officers. Me shaking uncontrollably. She said. "We need to ensure this home is safe at this moment. This is standard protocol." Standard protocol. The phrase made the floor tilt beneath me. What if they misunderstood? What if they took the kids temporarily? What if trying to save them turned into losing them? Mrs. Hayes stepped forward. "She takes good care of them," she said. "She's not the issue. Their father." The officer cut her off. "We'll gather statements in order." The social worker crouched to eye level with the kids. "You're safe," she murmured. "Just talk to us, okay?" They didn't move. They shook so hard I could feel their fear vibrating in the air. My lungs tightened. Every breath tasted like panic. If this went wrong, the kids could be taken away, placed somewhere unfamiliar, somewhere frightening. Then, headlights flashed through my window. A car skidded into my driveway. The engine shut off. The door slammed. Footsteps thundered toward the porch. The officers straightened, instantly alert. I turned toward the noise. My stomach dropped. Daniel. Wild eyes. Breathless. Face twisted with anger and something close to fear. And just like that, the night shifted again. And then, my brother finally showed up. Daniel didn't knock. He exploded through the door like a storm breaking its way into a quiet room. "What the hell is this?" he shouted, sweeping his arm at the officers, the social worker, the crying kids. "What did you do?" His voice cracked through the house like a whip. Lily flinched so hard she nearly dropped to the floor. Josh darted behind me, burying his face into my back, his small fingers digging into my shirt. I stepped in front of them instinctively. The officers raised their hands in a calm-down gesture, but Daniel wasn't looking at them. He locked onto me, eyes burning, face twisted, sweat beading on his forehead. "You called them, didn't you?" he spat. "You're trying to ruin my life. You always have." My mouth dropped open. "What? Daniel, you left them here." He cut me off with a laugh that sounded like metal scraping concrete. "Oh, don't pull that innocent act with me. You think you're some hero? You think you know better than me? They're my kids." His voice grew louder with every sentence, like he was trying to drown out reality. Mrs. Hayes stood near the corner, hands clasped, eyes wide. The social worker stepped closer to the kids, gently signaling for them to stay behind me. Daniel pointed at her. You have no right to talk to my children, he barked. They shouldn't even be here. And why are you, he jabbed a finger toward the officers, should be focusing on her. She's unstable. She's obsessed with my family. My heart slammed inside my ribs. Are you hearing yourself? I whispered. They were hungry. They were scared. You left them again, Daniel. His jaw clenched. A muscle jumped in his cheek. He took one step toward me. Then another. The officers subtly shifted. Sir, one warned, you need to take a step back. But Daniel didn't. He got right in my face, his breath hot, sour with beer. This is your fault, he hissed. Every problem in my life started with you. I felt the air leave my lungs. Daniel, I said softly, the kids. Don't talk about my kids. He roared so loudly even the officers flinched. The kids whimpered. Josh clung so tightly to me I could feel his whole body shaking. Daniel snapped toward them. Come here. Now. Neither of them moved. His eyes darkened. What did she tell you? He demanded. What lies did she put in your head? The social worker lifted a hand. Sir, we're here because of concerns about their well-being. You need to calm down. Daniel's laugh broke into a ragged roar. Concerns about their well-being? What about me? He slammed his fist against the wall so hard a picture frame clattered to the floor. Lily burst into tears. I reached back, touching her hand. It's okay, I whispered. But it wasn't. It wasn't at all. Daniel lunged forward and grabbed Josh's wrist. Josh screamed. Everything inside me cracked. Let him go. I yelled, grabbing Daniel's arm. He whipped around on me. And then, he said it. Words he could never take back. You're nothing. You've always been nothing. A babysitter. A backup plan. A pathetic, bitter woman who can't get a life of her own. My throat went dry. He wasn't just unraveling. He was detonating. The officers moved instantly. Sir, step back now, one ordered. But Daniel yanked harder, trying to pull Josh toward him. Josh's terrified cry echoed through the house. Stop. I shouted. My voice wasn't loud. It was desperate. Raw. Breaking. Daniel snapped his head toward me. This is your fault, he screamed. You made my kids scared of me. You made everyone judge me. You want to destroy me. His face was inches from mine, twisted with rage. You're sick, he hissed. And when this is over. He didn't finish the sentence. Because one of the officers grabbed his arm. Sir, that's enough, the officer said sharply. You're escalating the situation. Daniel jerked away, screaming, Don't touch me. The room turned electric. Charged. Dangerous. The social worker pulled the kid's father behind me. Mrs. Hayes whispered, Oh my God. Even the air felt like it was holding its breath. Daniel tried to push forward again. Toward me, toward the kids. But the officers blocked him. He thrashed. Shouted. Accused. Lied. Blamed. Every sentence cut deeper than the one before. Every scream tore another piece out of the kids. Every second, the truth became clearer. This wasn't a bad night. This wasn't stress. This wasn't misunderstanding. This was who he was. And I felt something shift inside me. Some fragile thing. Finally snapping clean in half. That was the moment everything snapped. The moment Shane's hand slammed against the wall, inches from my face, something inside me cracked open. A sound came out of me, half gasp, half disbelief. The kids froze behind me like tiny statues carved from fear. He wasn't just angry anymore. He was unhinged. His voice was shaking, too loud for the narrow hallway. You think you're better than me? Shane spit out. You think you can take my kids? You think you can make me look like a bad father? I tried to speak, but he talked over every breath. You've poisoned everyone. Even Mom and Dad think you're innocent. His eyes were wild, unfocused. I swear to God, if you turn them against me. Shane spun toward them so sharply that the older one stumbled back, hitting the wall. No, don't do that, I whispered. Don't go near them when you're like this. Like what? He threw his arms out. Like a father. Like a man who actually works. Unlike you. His phone vibrated non-stop, buzzing against his palm, lighting up his face. Calls. Texts. Notifications. He ignored all of it. Then his voice dropped lower, darker. If you ever get between me and my kids again. Stop. My voice shook. Shane, stop. His jaw flexed. And then he stepped closer. Too close. Close enough that I felt his breath break against my cheek. That was it. The line. The moment everything went irreversible inside me. I didn't even reach for my phone. I didn't have to. Because behind Shane, outside my open front door, stood Declan Murphy. My neighbor, eyes wide, phone already in hand, his thumb hovering over the call button. He wasn't breathing. Neither was I. Back away from her, Declan said, voice low, steady, terrifyingly calm. Shane turned, startled. Mind your business. But Declan didn't move. If you put your hands on her, or those kids, I'm calling the police. Shane barked out a laugh. You think anyone's gonna believe you? This is my family. The kids were crying now. Small, muffled sobs they tried to swallow. Their hands clung to my shirt, shaking. And then, something happened that changed everything. The older child stepped forward, wiping tears with the back of a trembling hand. Daddy, please stop yelling. Please, don't grab us again. Silence. Pure, freezing silence. Shane blinked. He took a step back. Then another. His face drained. Like the words punched a hole right through him. And that was when the neighbor across the hall opened her door. And another. Footsteps. Murmurs. Lights turning on. An entire hallway of witnesses emerging from the shadows. Shane looked around and realized. This wasn't just a family argument anymore. This was a scene. A public one. Declan pressed the emergency call. Police, he said. Domestic disturbance. Children involved. Shane's mouth fell open. Are you serious right now? I couldn't speak. My throat felt raw. My hands were shaking too hard to hide. Minutes felt like hours. The kids clung to me so tightly my ribs hurt. When the police finally arrived, the red and blue lights splashed against the hallway walls like some kind of twisted watercolor. Everything inside me felt both numb and burning at the same time. The officers pulled Shane aside first. He tried to talk fast. Tried to flip the story. Tried to blame me. Tried to claim I stole his kids. Tried to say he just came to pick them up. But every lie crumbled under the weight of witnesses. And the quiet, broken voices of his own children. Then Mom and Dad showed up, still in their coats, hair messy, eyes confused and terrified. Shane, what did you do? Dad asked. Shane's shoulders sagged. For the first time, he looked small, almost childlike. And I stood there, swallowing every emotion while the truth finally bled into the open. Because this moment, this heartbreak, this chaos, wasn't the ending. It was the beginning of everything that would come next. The hallway felt too bright once the officers split us apart. Shane on one side, trembling and pacing. Me and the kids on the other, wrapped in a blanket an officer handed them. Ink scratched across a clipboard. The sound of the police report being written. Every stroke felt like a verdict. A mini-hook slipped through my mind. This wasn't going away in the morning. One officer crouched to the kid's height. Soft voice. Gentle questions. The kind kids shouldn't ever have to answer. Did Daddy yell a lot? Has he ever scared you? Are there times you feel unsafe at home? I watched their tiny heads nod. Slow. Shame-filled. But honest. Each answer seemed to pull the ground from under Shane's feet. His jaw clenched, then unclenched, like he couldn't decide whether to rage or cry. Another hook hit me. This is the moment he finally loses control of the narrative. A supervising officer arrived, clipboard underarm, stern expression locked in place. We're making a mandatory referral to Child Protective Services, he said. Shane exploded. What? No. They're my kids. I take care of them. She's the one, she manipulates them, she. Mr. Clark. The officer's voice cut like a blade. Your children told us they're afraid of you. The neighbors heard you. We have multiple witnesses. Shane went silent. A frightening kind of silent. Like he'd been hit in the chest. Social services arrived shortly after. A woman in a grey coat, hair tied neatly back. Not cold, just professional. Her eyes scanned every detail. The kid's swollen eyes, Shane's agitation, my shaking hands. She spoke softly to the children. Then to me. Then finally to Shane. "This isn't about punishment," she said. "It's about safety." But her next sentence sliced him open. "Until further review, the children will remain with a temporary guardian." Shane's voice cracked. "You mean, with her?" "Yes," she replied. "Tonight, they stay with her." He staggered back like the floor tilted under him. For the first time, he looked scared. Not angry. Not proud. Just scared. Another hook whispered. Now he understands the consequences he kept pretending didn't exist. Mom pressed a hand to her mouth. Dad looked at him with a hollow disappointment I'd never seen before. "Son," Dad said quietly, "we warned you. You can't keep doing this." Shane's eyes filled, rage, guilt, confusion swirling like a storm he couldn't control. Declan stayed nearby, arms folded, watching everything. He didn't say a word, but his presence felt like a shield between me and the chaos. When the officers finally asked me to sign part of the statement, my handwriting shook. Every letter felt like it burned. Shane reached toward me suddenly. Not to hit, not to threaten, but almost in desperation. "Please, don't do this," he whispered. "No one will believe me if you say I'm the problem." But the officer stepped between us. "You need to stay back, Mr. Clark." Another mini-hook shot through the silence. He still doesn't understand. The truth isn't mine alone anymore. The kids pressed closer to me, their small hands clutching my sleeves. Their trust weighed heavy and sacred. Mom cried quietly. Dad rubbed his forehead like he was trying to erase the entire night. The social worker closed her folder and looked at me. "We'll schedule a formal custody review," she said. "For now, just keep them safe." Keep them safe. The words echoed in my chest like a promise I never expected to make. As they escorted Shane out of the building, his shoulders slumped, his eyes empty. A strange mix of sorrow and justice washed over me. This wasn't victory. This wasn't revenge. This was consequence. The kind that finally pulls the curtain off a family's perfect fiction. And as the door shut behind him, I realized. The collapse had already begun. And none of us would walk away unchanged. The apartment was finally quiet. Not tense quiet. Not the heavy, waiting for the next disaster kind of quiet. A gentle quiet, like the walls were exhaling after holding their breath for too long. The kids fell asleep almost instantly. A soft pile of blankets, slow breathing, tiny hands relaxed instead of clenched. No fear. No flinching at footsteps. Just peace. I stood in the doorway and watched them for a long moment. Their safety felt like a warm weight in my chest. Like something finally settling into place. After years of tilting the wrong way. For the first time all night, my shoulders dropped. Not because the chaos was over, but because I realized I wasn't carrying it alone anymore. The truth was out. In reports. In statements. In the eyes of the officers who had seen more than enough broken families to know what danger looked like. The burden that had crushed me for 10 weekends straight had finally shifted off my spine. I walked back to the living room. The faint hum of the fridge. The soft clicking of the heater. The kind of ordinary sounds that feel like a lullaby after a night of screaming and sirens. And something inside me eased. It hit slowly, like dawn creeping into a window. This wasn't just about Shane's kids. It was about me. About the part of myself I kept burying every time I said yes to protect them. Every time I tried to fix what he broke. Every time I let myself believe family meant sacrifice, even when the sacrifice was me. Now, the house felt different. Open. Warm. Mine. I sat on the couch and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for years. It shook on the way out, half relief, half grief. A release of everything I'd been swallowing just to keep the peace. A small voice from the kids' room whispered, "Are you still here?" "Yes," I said softly. "I'm right here." And for once, that didn't feel like a promise to drain myself. It felt like a choice. A peaceful one. I leaned back, eyes closing as the weight finally loosened its grip on my chest. For the first time in years, my home felt like mine. My heart too. And the final truth settled quietly in my bones. Sometimes the peace you fight for is the one you finally give yourself.